This is Laws and Resolution of Women's Rights, acquired by the guest at an estate sale for just $2. What sets this volume apart is that it is the first book ever published in the English language devoted to women's rights. It was published in London in 1632 by the Assigns of John Moore. The work presents a comprehensive legal treatise outlining women's rights and obligations under English common law, including marriage, property ownership, dowry, inheritance, guardianship, and widowhood. The book is bound in calf leather with blind-tooled panels and raised bands, typical of 17th century bindings. It is in a small folio format, with the title page printed in both black letter and Roman type, and decorated with woodcut initials and ornamental headpieces throughout. There is some staining to the top of the book, and one page is missing condition issues that could affect its auction value. This book is highly sought after by collectors of early English law, women's history, and feminist literature. In its current condition, it is estimated to be worth,
and it probably has an auction estimate in this condition of $6,000 to $8,000.
Oh my God! Are you serious?
I am serious.
Oh my goodness!
I am. See, women's rights. They come back.
At first glance, it may appear to be just a stack of aged envelopes and photographs, but each bears the signature of someone who helped change the way we travel through the skies. This remarkable collection was inherited by the guest from her father, who personally obtained the autographs.
My mother was able to meet Admiral Byrd in 1927 and got his autograph. And he decided at that point to try and get more autographs. And he lived in northern New Jersey. And at that point, you didn't have to have a driver's license. So at 12, he was able to just get in the car and drive to Teterboro. And he hung out there and he met all these people.
One highlight is an autograph of Amelia Earhart from June 1937, signed shortly before her mysterious disappearance while attempting to circumnavigate the globe.
In June of 37, and she died, I believe, in July of 37, or was lost in 37.
She's certainly one of the most sought-after aviation autographs there is.
Earhart was an American aviation pioneer and a tireless advocate for women in flight. Another standout piece is the autograph of the famed man on the moon, Neil Armstrong.
With the Armstrong, I'm really impressed with the note he wrote on the bottom here. I'm very pleased to have you place my name alongside so many fine aviation pioneers, Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
That makes it very personal.
Armstrong was an American astronaut and aeronautical engineer who, as commander of Apollo 11 in 1969, became the first person to walk on the moon. The collection also includes a letter signed by Alan Shepard, the American astronaut who became the first American and the second human to travel into space. Adding to its significance is a 1959 piece of ephemera signed by all 7 of the Project Mercury astronauts, the pioneers of America's first human spaceflight program. Also featured are autographs from John Glenn, Chuck Yeager, Captain Eddie Rickenbacker, and many more aviation legends. In total, the collection comprises over 1,000 pieces of aviation memorabilia, and the examined pieces alone would be worth.
The collection would bring $12,000 to $15,000.
They're just photographs until you realize they've traveled 240 miles from here. These photographs document 2 pivotal NASA lunar missions: Apollo 14, 1971, commanded by Alan Shepard, and Apollo 17, 1972, the final manned moon landing, commanded by Eugene Cernan. Shepard was an American astronaut who, in 1961, became the second person and the first American to travel into space. Eugene Cernan was an American astronaut, naval aviator, electrical engineer, aeronautical engineer, and fighter pilot. This collection includes official NASA-issued prints, press release photographs, and candid crew images. Additionally, it features scenes of lunar surface exploration, spacecraft operations, and mission control. The collection represents milestone moments in U.S. space history, including Shepard's lunar experiments on Apollo 14 and Harrison Schmitt's moonwalks on Apollo 17. As a group, the appraiser estimates this space memorabilia would fetch an auction price of.
An auction estimate would be $5,000 to $7,500.
Exhibited on the show is a painting that is a family heirloom of the guest, having been passed down through generations.
My mother originated from Korea, where I was born as well, and I've always known this painting, but nothing more about it.
This painting originates from Korea and depicts Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. The figure is seated on a rock above the firmament of the universe, a powerful symbol of enlightenment, impermanence, and spiritual reflection in East Asian Buddhist art. Titled the Water Moon Viewing Guanium, the halo behind the figure is represented by a full moon. Judging by the colors and style, the appraiser confidently dates this work to the first half of the 17th century. The medium is ink and mineral pigments on a heavy textile, most likely hemp cloth. This piece combines traditional Korean ink wash techniques with subtle color accents. Fine line work and balanced negative space emphasize its meditative qualities. Culturally, it embodies themes of compassion and transcendence, central to Korean Buddhism. Though there are minor condition issues, they can be easily restored. In its current state, this 17th century Korean artwork would command an auction price of,
at auction, it would probably sell between $8,000 to $10,000.
Okay.
Today's guest presented a collection of aviation memorabilia amassed by his father over many years.
My family has been kind of indirectly associated with the space race for years and years. My father was a manager of a hotel that was partially owned by the 7 original Mercury astronauts. And through that friendship, he got to meet a lot of the other people and become friends with them, different astronauts. And subsequently, some stories came out of it, and ultimately, that's why we're here. Yes, I have a collection of a lot of different astronauts and autographs and all that, but I think it's the story behind it that really made it interesting for us.
A highlight of this collection is a photograph of the guest's father standing in front of a signboard at the hotel he managed. What makes the signboard especially interesting is the message written on it. Try our corned beef. It's out of this world. At the time, the guest's father and astronaut John Young agreed to bring corned beef on a space flight.
And Dad said, well, John, if you'd let me know, I could have catered it from Wolfie's, which is a great delicatessen in the Ramada Inn here in Cocoa Beach. Well, out of that, these two got together and they tried to figure out a way that they could get a couple of corned beef sandwiches into space.
With the help of Wally Schirra, they succeeded in getting it aboard. John Young was an American astronaut, naval officer, and aviator who became the 9th person to walk on the moon as commander of the Apollo 16 mission in 1972. This moment reflects early experimentation in space food technology, highlighting the challenges of providing palatable, nutritious, and shelf-stable meals in microgravity.
Well, they pulled it out and the sandwiches just disintegrated. There was caraway seeds and crumbs and everything everywhere. And
corned beef was one of several preserved foods tested before space menus were finalized. Another highlight of the collection is a handwritten signed letter from astronaut Alan Shepard to the guest's father.
On the Ramada Inn stationery, it says, Carlos, I needed a corned beef sandwich, and all I got was bologna.
Shepard was an American astronaut who, in 1961, became the 2nd person and the 1st American to travel into space. The collection also includes 2 signed photographs of Neil Armstrong, one dedicated to the guest's parents and the other to the guest himself. Armstrong was an American astronaut and aeronautical engineer who, in 1969, became the first person to walk on the moon as commander of the Apollo 11 mission. Taken together and given their remarkable provenance, this collection of American aviation memorabilia is estimated to be worth
Around $40,000 to $50,000.
Wow. Wow.
thanks, Dad.
Before GPS, and even before radio navigation, mariners and scholars relied on something far more elegant, an object small enough to sit on a desk, yet capable of charting the heavens themselves. This is a 17th century celestial indicator that belonged to the guest's cousin, whose great-grandfather invented it. It comes with its original instruction manual and wooden box, making it a rare find. The box shows some wear consistent with its age, which, rather than detracting from the value, actually enhances its authenticity and appeal. An inscription on the side of the box reveals the maker's name and the location where it was produced. Celestial indicators like this were used by astronomers, navigators, and educators to simplify sky observation long before modern star charts and planetariums became widespread.
These were used for demonstrating to children, to schools, and to adults how the solar system worked.
By turning a knob, the mechanism activates, demonstrating the rotation of our solar system. The piece features detailed astronomical illustrations, fine typography, and precise coordinate markings. It is constructed from lacquered brass on a painted cast iron base. Vintage celestial indicators are highly sought after by collectors of antique scientific instruments, and this example is estimated to be worth.
See this sell for between $3,000 and $5,000.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Good.
When they were made, they were 25.
After the splashdowns and the parades came a quieter moment, a pen in hand, a name on a photograph, and a memory captured forever. Featured on the show is a collection of American aviation memorabilia gathered over 16 years by the guest during his time as one of the test directors on NASA's zero-G airplane, the Vomit Comet.
Through an accident, they were looking for volunteers, and I raised my hand, and we went from there.
And when was that? What year?
I started in this program in '62. I went to work for NASA, which was then called NACA at the time, in 1954. I either was wearing a spacesuit, developing the lunar surface hardware, or training astronauts.
One highlight of the collection is a photograph of the Vomit Comet bearing the signatures of 16 astronauts and the guest's co-workers. Another notable piece is a photograph of NASA astronaut Alan Shepard taken while he was training with the guest. In his hands is the very American flag he would later place on the moon. Shepard, an American astronaut, became the second person and the first American to travel into space in 1961. Also included is a signed photograph of the guest alongside astronaut Marcia Ivins during their time working together.
And I worked with her on several occasions on the airplane. And when I left in 1977, shortly after I left, she became an astronaut and flew on 5 shuttle missions.
Ivins is a retired American astronaut and a veteran of 5 space shuttle missions. The collection further features a standard public release photograph of astronaut Gordon Cooper, which the guest personally took to Cooper's office to have signed. Cooper was an American aerospace engineer, test pilot, United States Air Force pilot, and the youngest of the 7 original astronauts in Project Mercury, the first human space program of the United States. Altogether, this remarkable collection of American aviation memorabilia contains numerous historically significant items and, if auctioned, would be worth.
We would put an estimate between $35,000 and $45,000 at auction.
Yeah, you got to be kidding.
It's a great collection.
I am just speechless. I thought maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, maybe something like that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it.
Well, thank you.
Before they became legends, they were just men with pens, signing a small piece of paper that would become a giant leap for collectors. Featured on the show is a stamped envelope with a postal cancellation, alongside an image of the Apollo 11 mission patch. The Apollo 11 mission was the first crewed mission to land on the moon, achieving a major goal set by President John F. Kennedy. This type of envelope is called a cover, and Apollo 11 astronauts were allowed to take personal effects on board the spacecraft. About 214 covers went on the spacecraft, and they are now highly sought-after collectibles. However, this particular cover is one of the insurance covers. It was not taken on board but left on Earth. What truly makes this piece valuable is the signatures of the Apollo 11 astronauts, combined with its scarcity. Given its rarity and the collectability of Apollo mission memorabilia, this signed cover is estimated to fetch a price of.
This one, I would say, at auction is probably worth around $5,000. If it was flown, it would be maybe $30,000 to $40,000.
Today, we are meeting with renowned broadcast journalist Soledad O'Brien in Dutchess County. Soledad O'Brien is an American broadcast journalist and executive producer who, since 2018, has hosted Matter of Fact with Soledad O'Brien, a nationally syndicated weekly talk show produced by Hearst Television. She shared that she enjoys collecting antique objects, particularly those she finds visually and historically appealing.
I like art that makes you happy. I like objects that tell a great story.
I don't know anything about antiques, so I'm excited to have someone who can say, this has no value, this has some value, this, we don't even know what this is. But I'm curious about a couple of things.
O'Brien showcased 2 tribal antiques she acquired while filming a PBS series in Congo.
I found these beautiful masks and wood sculptures, and there was no way to get them back on a plane. And so I paid a guy on the street and gave him my address. And he literally wrapped them in bubble wrap and put them in the mail. And they arrived like 6 months later. And I love them. They remind me a lot of a trip that was a great trip for us. But also I think they're very beautiful.
According to the appraiser, both pieces originate from Congo, but were created by 2 different tribes. Interestingly, these objects were not made for ritualistic purposes, but instead were produced to sell to tourists.
The mask is made by the Kuba, and the standing figure is probably made by the Bena Lalua.
The appraiser noted that if the sculpted figure had hands and was smaller in size, it could potentially pass as a ritual object. Tribal figures made for ritual purposes tend to be more collectible. However, these 2 items would still be worth.
If I was to give a value, it would probably be at auction somewhere between $150 and $300 a piece.
That's not all. O'Brien also presented a special table she has long been curious about.
We have a lithographer's table is what I was told it was. It's just this massive table. So I'm interested to find out, is it a lithographer's table? How was it used and how old is it?
According to the appraiser, the table is a lithographer's table, featuring a limestone slab on top. It was most likely produced in the early 20th century by the Hamilton Company, a well-known American manufacturer based in Wisconsin. At auction, this sturdily built 20th century lithographer's table would be worth...
We're at auction between $2,000 and $3,000. I think if you're
and then another $10,000 to get someone to move it because it's so heavy.
Yeah, but yeah, retail. I mean, I think you could ask $8,000 or $9,000 for it. Would be a fair asking price. So
next, O'Brien displayed a collection of figurines she wanted identified.
We have these little figurines. I don't even know what I would call them. Some of them are little banks, so they have a clear use, but others I couldn't even tell you what they are.
The appraiser explained that these figurines are painted cast iron mechanical banks designed to store coins.
And you press this lever, and this kind of bank was marketed towards children.
They were produced after the American Civil War, during a time when many people opposed the newfound freedoms of formerly enslaved individuals. These objects were made to demean Black people by exaggerating their features and perpetuating racial stereotypes.
The lips of these kinds of figures are very red and very prominent, and they're using stereotypes like the watermelon to put down the Black people. That's originally why they were made.
Despite their offensive origins, such items are highly sought after by collectors of African American historical artifacts, and each piece would be worth.
Like these can sell for under $100 each.
I was so happy to learn more about these figurines. I feel like my instinct about grabbing them and taking them all was a good one. And now, of course, I think I have to figure out how to display them. The history in some ways is bad, right? It's offensive. But also understanding that they have some value to people trying to claim them back is kind of cool. The table, I do love that it has a great backstory, and I love that it's centered around art and people just working at it, right? It's a useful table, so that's pretty great. And certainly for the masks, I wouldn't change anything. It was a fantastic trip. I love the backstory of the things that I own, and I think they make my home and my space personal to me. I like things with a story. I like being able to say, oh, well, you know where I got that? That to me is the value of an object.